we have lesson in product to sum and sum to product formula. Product to sum is you start as a product, all right? So sine alpha times sine beta, and then you rewrite that as is equal to, you don't really need to rewrite, is equal to something that has a sum or difference in it. So that is called product to sum. Start as a product, end with a sum or difference. And then the other one is sum to product. You start as a sum or difference, and then you end up with a product. And then the alpha and beta, so this Greek letter, they are angle measurement. So a couple properties that we will be using a lot in these sections, they are even and odd properties. By the time you get to this section, I am sure you already learned the even and odd properties of the six-trig function. They are very easy to memorize. Only cosine and secant are even. What is an even function? An even function is if you put a minus, a negative right next to the independent variable, the negative will be cancelled, right? So you have cosine of negative theta equals to cosine. Same thing for the secant. And then for the sine, cosecant, tangent, and cotangent, they are odd function. So once you put a negative right next to the independent variable, so you can pull the negative out of the entire trig function. You will be using that a lot in this section. So you know the rules. So in this channel, you don't just take the formulas for my video. Every time I give you a formula, I expect you to pause the video and write down the formula. So when you write down the formulas, be careful that this one, the one right here, this one starts with a -2. The negative is not a typo. That is start with a -2. So be very careful. All right, assuming you already paused and do the writing yourself, let's take a look at the first one. So the first one is we have sine of 4 theta times cosine of 2 theta. So that is 4 theta and 2 theta. So we have a sine times a cosine. You can easily find the formula in here. So we have alpha and beta. So that is equals to 1/2. All you have to do is plug in sine alpha plus beta, so that is 4 theta plus 2 theta, and then plus sine of they are cosine. Okay, cosine, and then this one is cosine, and then you have 4 theta plus 2 theta, and then the first one is supposed to be a minus. I was looking at the wrong place, so this is supposed to be a minus. So let's double check. We are using the one right here. Cosine alpha minus beta, and then minus cosine alpha plus beta. So everything is good, and then we just do the math. So we have 1/2, and then cosine 4 minus 2 is 2. We better use a parenthesis, and then a cosine 4 plus 2 is 6 theta. There is no way to simplify the cosine 2 theta and the cosine 6 theta. I should say there is no way to evaluate what it is because you don't know the angle measurement. And then for the 1/2, leave it outside. You don't need to distribute. So that is your final answer. And then number 2, you have sine of 3 theta divided by 2 times cosine theta divided by 2. So that is a sine times a cosine. We have alpha, we have beta. This is equal to 1/2 sine of 3 theta divided by 2 plus theta divided by 2, and then plus sine 3 theta minus divided by 2 minus theta divided by 2. So that is equals to 1/2. You have a 4 divided by 2 equals to 2. And then this one is 2 divided by 2 equals to 1. And then that's it. You don't know the angle measurement. So there is no way to evaluate the two signs. And then number 3, you have a cosine times a cosine. So number 3, you have a cosine 3 theta times cosine 5 theta. And then you plug in, right? So that is 1/2 square bracket cosine alpha minus beta minus 5 theta, and then plus cosine alpha plus theta. Close that, and then you just do the subtraction. So that is cosine of what? Cosine of -2, and then plus cosine of 8 theta. What do I have to do for the -2? Right here. Remember that cosine is even, right? So even function is cosine of -theta. We can just remove the negative. So that is cosine of theta. So this is 1/2 square bracket cosine of 2 theta plus cosine of 8 theta. So that is your final answer. What if this is a sine? If this is a sine of -2 theta, then you have to pull the negative out of the parenthesis because sine is an odd function. So that is product to sum. And then we look at sum to product. So number 1, let's change colors for this. Number 1, we have a sine of 4 theta minus sine of 2 theta. Use parenthesis. Okay, so that is which one we should use? This is alpha, this is beta, right? So look at the formulas you just wrote. That is equals to 2 times sine, right, of alpha minus beta. Alpha minus beta divided by 2, and then cosine alpha plus beta divided by 2, and then you clean up the math. So that is sine of 2 theta, and then cosine 6 divided by 2 is 3. Then there you go. That is the final answer. And then number 2, you have cosine of 2 theta plus cosine of 4 theta. This is my alpha, this is my beta. Check the formula. You have to use 2 cosine. Which one? Alpha plus beta. So you have 2 theta plus 4 theta divided by 2, and then cosine alpha minus beta. That is 2 theta minus 4 theta divided by 2. So this is a 2 cosine. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and then cosine, we got a negative right here. -2 divided by 2 is negative theta. So same thing, right? So we just said that cosine is an even function. So cosine is an even function. So that means cosine of negative theta is just equals to cosine. So back to my problem. So this is 2 cosine 3 theta times cosine of theta. The job is done. Number 3. You have sine of theta plus sine of 3 theta. So that is a sine plus a sine. We have my alpha, we have my beta. So that is 2 times sine alpha plus beta, right? So that is 1 plus 3 divided by 2. And then a cosine, what? Alpha minus beta. So that is 1 minus 3 divided by 2. So we have 2 times sine of 2 theta, and then cosine of negative theta. And since cosine is even, so you can just remove the negative. Sine of 2 theta, and then cosine of theta. So the job is done. Number 4. So number 4, this problem, we have another problem down there. I'm sure you can see it. We save that for the next part. So number 4, we have cosine of half theta minus cosine of 3 theta divided by 2. So check your formula. Which one should I use? I should use the one that starts with a negative, -2, right? So that is -2 sine of alpha plus beta divided by 2. So half plus 3/2 divided by 2. And then sine of alpha minus beta. So half minus 3 theta divided by 2, the whole thing divided by 2. And then that is equal to negative 2 sine. So the top, this is a 4 theta divided by 2 divided by 2. And then sine negative 2 theta divided by 2. So we have negative 2 sine of 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then 2 you divided by this 2, you only have 1 theta left. And then this is sine of negative theta divided by 2. What is sine? Sine is odd, right? So sine of negative theta is equal to sine, is equal to negative 1 times sine of theta, because sine is an odd function. So therefore, this negative will go here. So overall, you have positive sine of theta times sine of theta divided by 2. So that will be all in this video. In the next part, I will show you how to use these formulas to prove trigonometric identity. So I will see you there.